Why can't I see my chat? Are we live? Yes, we're live. Hey guys. I'm just trying to see the chat, but I can't even see it. Can you see it, Tom?
Yeah, it is there, yeah.
Okay, I've got the pop-up one here, but I can't see the StreamYard. Hey everyone, how you going? Hey Tom, how you doing?
Hello everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me okay.
Yeah. So let's just say hello to everyone in the chat who's here, and then I'll come back and we'll introduce you once there's a few more people here and everybody can get to. Let's just say hello to everyone in the chat who's here, and then I'll come back and we'll introduce you.
That was me.
People here and everybody can get to. Let's just say hello to everyone in the chat who's here, and then I'll come back and we'll introduce you.
That was me.
Is that yours or mine?
I don't know. Oh, God. Have I committed the ultimate sin again?
Wow. That was like a real newbie thing from me. I had my YouTube open. Sorry. Okay.
So did I. So I think we both did this exactly the same.
It's going to be one of those nights. Okay, let's start again. Okay, let's see. Ian's in here. Hey, Ian. And Karen Singamani. I'm not sure I know that name before, but hello. Drew's in. He is like you. He is a self-confessed hoarder. Robin's here, and I can see you're here. Aid's here, and Laurel's here, and I don't know if anyone else is here, but if you're here, make sure you say hello and pop in the chat and join us. Hey, Bron, how you going? Okay, so if anybody doesn't know Tom, this is Tom, the English picker from somewhere in the UK.
Yeah, I'm in the East Midlands, so it's not far from Nottingham, so sort of right in the middle of the country.
Okay, so I don't know. You tell us a little bit about you, Tom.
Well, yeah, for those who don't know me, some people will, some people won't. I've been doing YouTube now for 8 years, I think, fully, something like that, 8-10 years. And I started off really just talking about some of the stuff that I picked up along the way, mainly because my family and friends were absolutely bored to tears from some of the stuff that I buy. So I buy and sell stuff, much like yourself, Mel. I specialize mainly in books on Amazon. That's sort of 80%, so probably 70 to 80% of my core business is that. Then I also do things like CDs and on Amazon and eBay. Actually, you'll probably like those. They're country and western, from what Nick's been telling me. And then I do video games and stuff like that on eBay. So I'd say that's the core. I used to do more antiques and collectibles. I used to sell at antique centres, but I've kind of pushed that to one side for the moment. But I still do dabble in that. That's kind of where I started off, was antiques and collectibles, and then sort of progressed from there, really.
Streamlined it down to books, discs, and games.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, my journey into books started off with what we're going to talk about, which is starting off dealing with a hoarder. So that's
okay.
Something we could go into.
Okay, that's awesome. So you said you've been doing this 8 to 10 years as full-time?
Yeah, so actually self-employed. I've been self-employed now for 11 years, I think, something like that. But I was when I started off being self-employed, I actually made furniture and I designed things. I made furniture, jewelry, all sorts of bits like that, and sold them on eBay. But then I actually realized that selling the tools and equipment to make the things, I actually made more money than actually selling the things that I made, which is a bit weird. So I thought, well, there's a lot of competition for that sort of stuff, and then imported items from China and whatnot, that I found it quite difficult. But there was an unsatiable appetite for like books about how to make furniture and stuff like that. So that sort of worked better for me than actually making things, which was weird.
So you are a self-confessed hoarder. That's what Nick tells me anyway. Like, you're really good friends with Nick Hills, aren't you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, so yeah, I am.
I don't know if he's in the chat. He's probably still asleep because he was
still asleep.
Well, he was private streaming me until about 4 a.m.
So that sounds a bit sordid.
There was a group, but he was. I think they went to bed about 4 a.m. So
Yeah, he messaged me at 3:30, so I suspect he's still asleep. So I'll be watching this back. So if you're watching this back, Nick, get up. Come on, stop being lazy. No, I'm glad we managed to work this out because obviously the time difference it does make it a little bit fiddly. But unfortunately, it's kind of a hereditary thing that my dad's a hoarder, my nan was a hoarder, and it's kind of trickles down. I don't know whether it's genetic or whether it's a mixture of genetic and how you were raised, because my mum was the opposite of a hoarder. She was super organized. And when I was a kid, if I wasn't using a toy, she'd throw it away. And I was never allowed toy soldiers. And just, I don't know if that made it worse or better. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I definitely do. I think it's I have an emotional attachment, an over emotional attachment to objects and the sort of memories that are associated with that. And it's something I've dealt with for a long time, really.
So your hoarding goes past your just reselling death pile. Like it goes into your life.
100%. I mean, I try and keep the house tidy, mainly because I think I'd end up divorced in a gutter somewhere if I didn't. Yeah, it definitely permeates into sort of my life generally. But it's definitely gone into the business. So I don't know if I do question sometimes whether I'm an alcoholic running a pub. You know, whether it's a smart move, the industry that I'm in, but I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. Just that feeling when you get a really good haul of stuff and you just dive into it. It's better than any drug I think that endorphin rush.
So if you're like a hoarder, like for your stock, is all your stock kept at home, or do you have like a storage unit or a shipping container or something?
You see, it used to all be kept at home, but I think the problem with a lot of people in this business and that are self-confessed hoarders will admit is that you can never have a space that's going to be big enough. You always fill it. Whatever space you've got, you will always fill it. Mm-hmm. And I made the mistake, which I would strongly advise a lot of people not to do, is to not get a storage unit because one storage leads to two storage units, and then you end up with four, and then it escalates. So currently, my listed stock is kept off site in secure storage, and my unlisted stock is I've got some here, some in my garage, and then some in a shipping container as well, which I am gradually working through. So I made the decision to get it the work-life separation I had to.
Yeah. So that's made a difference, moving some of it off-site?
It has, but in itself has created greater problems that out of sight, out of mind, that you kind of forget what you've got, really. So it did solve one problem, but you've got to be ruthless. I mean, I have got a lot better these days. I haven't been to the car boot sales over here or any of the op shops, as you would call it, the charity shops, really for a year and a half. I've been just eating on my backlog since then. So all this lockdown and everything hasn't really affected me that much in terms of stock wise, because I've just been going through the backlog.
So you've been able to sit for a year and a half not buying any stock, and you've still got a mountain load of stock to list.
That's thousands and thousands of items. I mean, I have bought some stuff. I bought some stuff for the channel. I've done like mystery boxes and stuff like that, just to keep in with my contacts that I've built up. So it's not that I've completely stopped, but I was doing 5 to 8 car boot sales a week, midweek ones. I'd do like 5 of a weekend, flea markets, that sort of thing. Before that, and that was just what I'd do is I'd buy all this stuff. I'd list all the stuff that was easy to list or the more valuable stuff, and then the middle ground, mediocre stuff would get put to one side, and then weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of that. That's what I'm dealing with now.
I think that's a big problem for resellers. They buy the stuff, they list the cool stuff that they want to sell straight away, or the stuff that they're really excited about, and then the other stuff sits in a death pile, and it either becomes so overwhelming or daunting, or it just becomes so boring that they don't want to go back to it.
Yeah, totally.
So do you, like, how many things do you have listed?
Currently, I have got, I think, 1,100 on eBay. Let me just check exactly. 1,083 on eBay. And then Amazon, just bear with me. Amazon FBA, I'm well down on what I was. I've got 2,771. And merchant fulfilled, I've got 1,333. But
Wow.
my FBA was up over 5,000 sort of earlier on, sort of Christmas time. But sold a lot of stuff.
You've got a lot of stuff listed. So how much would you have compared to what you've got listed in your death pile?
I've probably got maybe the same amount, if not maybe more. It depends, because some of it at this point I do question whether it's actually worth selling, because I was going through some of the stuff and it was things that used to be worth money but aren't anymore, and I've kind of missed the boat on some stuff.
So do you think that do you have like an attachment to letting that stuff go? Do you think, like, even if you know, okay, it's not really worth much anymore, like maybe it was good a couple of years ago but it's not really that good anymore, is it hard for you to let that stuff go and redonate it? Or
no, not so much. I used to be like that. I used to try and eke money out of everything, but I've become more brutal now in donating stuff. I mean, I got rid of quite a lot of stuff before all this lockdown happened, and they actually told me to stop bringing them DVDs in because they've got so many. Because I was sort of taking full carloads in, a couple times a week. So because I was trying to get rid of one of the storage units and condense it all. But yeah, I'm certainly up for that. But I think my weak point is I've got stuff which I know that's clothes, for example. Shoes and stuff like that. I know that they're worth money, and I've got good stuff, but I just can't be bothered to list them. I really dislike listing clothes, and it's one of those quandaries. So I'm now sort of moving into, okay, maybe I can move them on at a small profit to another seller, so at least they can be sold and whatnot. But then, it's things like electronics. Like, I've got loads of VHS players, and I just can't be bothered to test them. So I know there's money in them, but I think that's the main chunk of what I've got, is that I know there's money, but I haven't got time to sort it.
And so, like, you'd rather obviously list like DVDs, CDs, games, books. So obviously clothes are much more hard work to photograph than those, and video players that you have to fix up. Like, they're gonna be heaps more effort. So if you're in that mode of listing really simple things, all those other things are going to seem really daunting, and they're just going to sit there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of, because I sort of my educational background. I know about jewelry and stuff. I've got masters in furniture and jewelry design, and I've got lots and lots of costume jewelry which I bought in bulk ages ago. And I really need to get that listed. And people always chew my ears off about it, because I know there's a lot of money in it. But again, it's like clothes. There isn't a barcode on it, so I can't just grab it, scan it, and sorry, I've just deafened everyone, and get it listed dead easy. So I get so distracted by all the stuff that I can scan a barcode, take a couple of quick pictures, and get it up there, that I don't have time to like nicely curate lovely pictures on a mannequin and that sort of thing.
Do you think it would be worth paying somebody to come in and photograph those items that you don't want to photograph? Would it be worth finding like a young student or?
Yeah, I've thought about this for the longest time, to try and get a lister, because I know people like the guys at Scavenger Life who do the podcast. They've got listers and did have listers, and I know other people who've employed people to do it, and I've dabbled in it. I contacted a guy who does like a service where he lists it for you. But what he did is he listed it on his own eBay account and did a week auction. And some of the stuff just isn't appropriate for a 1 week auction.
Yeah.
And then he went halves on whatever it sold for, which was good. But yeah, and I think the problem with a lot of people is with legislation, you've got to think about employing somebody, and that adds a whole nother level of complexity, which I'm not sure.
It's another thing that goes in the too hard basket.
Yeah. 100%.
Let me check the chat because I'm terrible at ignoring it. So I'm really bad with this chat. I can see there's heaps. If anyone's got any questions, please put it again because I'm sure I've missed it. And I can see there's new people in here. Hey, PVP and Zach and Stu and Donna and Sam. Thanks for all. I'll just say thanks to everyone because I know I've missed a whole heap of you for coming in, but thanks everyone for coming in. 18. Somebody. I can't put anything up on the screen because my comments aren't showing, but I can see somebody here has said 18 months. That's a huge backlog of stock. So what do you think for? What do you think about these resellers who have their lounge rooms have been totally filled with death pile, like literally to the ceilings? And that's just their death pile. That's not their listed pile. They've got their listed stuff sorted somewhere else. That's not their working office. They've just literally converted like their living areas in their house, floor to ceiling, with stock.
I was like that, and I know I've got good friends who are like that, whose kids are living around their unlisted and listed stock. It's tough. I mean, if that's what you've got to do and you physically can't have storage at offsite or can't afford to, then you've got to do what you've got to do. But I don't think it's very healthy, especially if you're bringing dusty things into the house or potentially hazardous to items in. I think if I lived on my own, I'd hoard myself into oblivion, and I'd be one of those people who's got it all pressed up against the walls and the windows, and I'm one of that house that people walk past. But yeah, I definitely do that. I just get this kind of weird comfort having. It's like getting a weird comfort. It's almost like having a savings account. Like, oh, I know that is worth money, but then I have to slap myself and think, yeah, it is worth money, but it's not if it's just sat on your table and it's worth nothing. And trying to get that into my head is a quandary, definitely. But yeah, I know lots of people do it, and it's certainly where I started off. That I was going to the car boot sales, bringing it home, piling it up, and then I'd have a pile of my listed stuff, and then stupidly, when I started off, my listed pile was mixed in with my unlisted pile, and oh gosh, it's taken me years to get a proper inventory system sorted. And actually, looking at videos like yours and your inventory system and the gorgeousness of it all lovely laid out was like, oh, I really want that. So I've started doing it. I'm getting there. I've got an electronic list where I can search for items and know which box it's in, etc., etc. But it's taken,
because I remember when you did leave a comment on my inventory video, and you were just, I can't remember what you left, but I do remember you leaving a comment just going, oh my God.
Yeah, just people who've really nailed it and have got their inventory system sorted I'm proper envious of that it's all good to go, because I can't tell you the amount of times I've sold something and we play that wonderful game for hours and hours of where the hell have I put it.
Yeah.
And I've had to buy another one just to send out to the customer in time. And I've been doing a stock take for the first time in years, actually, recently, because it's gone a bit more quiet. And I found some items which I'd previously sold, and I've finally found them 2 years later. It's crazy.
So why don't you just use the SKU as your inventory system? Why do you have to have is it because you've got the different platforms, or?
Yeah, different. It's a bit more tricky with Amazon because you can create a custom SKU, but you've got to do it as you're listing it. So you've got to know where it's got to go as you're listing it. And what I'd do before on eBay, which most of the stuff was before the eBay SKU came in. So now when I'm listing stuff, I can do that. That I can say, I can go back in as I'm putting it in a particular box and put it on the listing where it is, which has helped. But there's no real way to do that with Amazon Merchant Fulfilled. So, but FBA has really helped me with the hoarding problem, because then it just goes, it's gone.
Yes.
I don't see it.
You just send it out.
Just send it out, and that is one thing that helped me, I guess.
I think just looking here at the questions, why doesn't the Facebook reseller group allow resellers to sell job lots and bulk lots of decent quality stock anymore to other resellers? Win-win for both parties. Okay, I'm an admin for that group, so on behalf of the group, I think the reason is just to keep it so that it doesn't just become all about selling, and it's more about topics and questions and asking for help, so it doesn't get flooded with people selling things, making it like a Facebook buy and sell page, I guess. So I think that's why, Bron.
I think there are certain, and like in the UK, there is a separate selling group for
Right.
UK resellers. So I know there is a place for that, but
yes, and maybe that's a good idea. Maybe there needs to be a subgroup just for selling and keep the other one more topic based and questions and asking for help and stuff. Where I just saw, this is really hard without the StreamYard up. Question for Tom. I thought you had a fallout with the love of Amazon.
Oh yeah, 100%. Amazon are absolute bandits that don't give two whatever's for their sellers. They're masters of moving the goalposts when you're halfway through the game. And I despise them on a regular basis. But unfortunately, they are the bill payers for me still.
Yeah,
So unfortunately, I've got to dance to their tune. That I still don't like FBA because of your ability to get scammed by customers, and all the fees are outrageous. But with Amazon, with this lockdown, I couldn't do FBA and I had to do merchant fulfilled, and I sold a lot of stuff. So I still fallen out with Amazon, and that's why on eBay I went from 200 listings to over 1,000 during the lockdown, because I needed to diversify because I was too solely reliant on Amazon. So.
And does is like over in UK, is there a book market on eBay equivalent to Amazon, or is it quite different?
Not really, because I'm amazed at your videos and others, people in America and other people in Australia, that the book market on eBay seems a lot stronger. Like when you sold the 50 Shades of Grey book bundle, I'm still gobsmacked at that. It still boggles my mind that literally in the charity shops over here, they can't even give those away. There's that many of them. I could get hundreds and hundreds of them every week if I was so inclined. So yeah, I think it's because it's dominated by really large companies that just do media. There's Music Magpie, We Buy Books, and there's some, and World of Books are the main sort of ones that they've got such low costs, and they get bulk postage rates that they just, the prices are so low on a lot of them.
Yeah, I think that's where eBay kills you on books, is the postage.
Yeah.
You know, we just can't get it like Book Depository and all those other like they're obviously getting such a bulk discount, and like eBay kills you on postage with books.
Yeah. Bundles are still good, and specialist and those sort of niche non-fiction books. Yeah, I do list them on eBay.
Yep. PvP saying the amount of Tom's tat makes me nervous. I imagine a giant pile of tat going on a rampage, like a tat version of Godzilla. But I don't know, PvP, those pictures on my Instagram weren't of Tom's actual tat. They were on other resellers who sent them to me anonymously. But like, he did just say that he's got about 5,000 items in his death pile, which is just crazy.
See if I've got any photos somewhere.
Like if a lot of your work is on books and CDs and stuff, you can see that it's easy to gather those things like into bulk, and then they will, like you said before, that it's all around you sitting there. Is that right?
Yeah, within reach. I've got, oh gosh, there's all sorts. I've got this is just stuff just all around me, just sitting here. with endless computer games, consoles, and just stuff that I'm listing at the moment. It's yeah. This is stuff that I've dug out to list this week. So what I've been trying to do is I bring sort of a small tote bag of stuff to list that week, and only that can come into my house to be listed.
Right.
Otherwise, I just keep bringing, let's look at this. And then I do what Nick does. Let's look up all the prices of this. And then I'll put it back in the bag.
Yeah.
So I've looked at the prices, but I haven't.
So it sounds like you're fully aware of the state that you could let it get into, and so you're very mindful of not bringing too much into the house, keeping it in the storage units.
I think my problem is a problem that a lot of sort of children have, is that they get all their toys out and then they don't want to put them away. I think it's the putting away is my issue as well.
So Lainey said here, you said before you had 3 or 4 storage places and you were planning on reducing it to 1. Have you started to do that yet?
Yeah, 100%. I've actually started filming it as well. Whether I'll actually release it or not, I don't know. But it's an accountability thing of doing it, because it is, particularly one, is so shameful. It's my top tip is, if you are going to get a storage unit, get decent shelving and don't just chuck it in there. The mistake I made was I just incrementally filled it, and it's quite tall, but I'm not using the vertical space, so it's all just on the floor. So that I'm definitely getting rid of one by the end of August is what I'm aiming for, to get rid of one. That's my plan.
I think that's the thing. When you see it all piled up in people's rooms, it makes it so daunting. Like one lady who sent me a few pictures of her house, she said 3 rooms of her house were overtaken by unlisted stock, and then she had 2 other rooms that were all of the listed stock. But because she had these 3 other rooms that were absolutely full and just scattered everywhere, she was so overwhelmed that it was actually crippling her to the point where she couldn't list anymore because she didn't even know where to start. So like, what kind of advice would you give to somebody like that? Is it just a matter of start 1 box at a time, or is it like clean it up as you go, sort it, and then list? Or
I mean, it is a problem I've dealt with before, especially when we talked about video players and stuff like that. That I test something, I'd know it's tested, and then it'll go back, and then I'd forget which ones I tested. So I think if you are going to go down the lines of something you need to test, have a clear labeling system. I know Nick uses Post-it notes and physically sticks it on the item to say what's up with it. Is it working? That sort of thing. Batch process, I guess, is the best thing. Like I've got some handheld games consoles here, which I'm testing in a batch. So then the economies of scale, I'm sort of, rather than just testing one thing here or then listing one thing there, try and batch it up so you're listing like-minded things, so you're not flipping here and there and that sort of thing.
I feel the same, like when I was photographing the other day and I was showing how I photograph, and I was saying the same thing: photograph in batches. So you photograph all your clothes at once, or photograph all your shoes at once, or photograph all your books or all your DVDs. And that way you're all in the same spot and you can just get into a rhythm. And I think that's the same if you've got to do something like testing. And I don't buy things that I have to test just for the main point that I don't know enough about them. But I do think, I was talking to Rod about this the other day, and he was saying that that's where it slows him down, where he's got to test things and then photograph them. And he was saying that he's taken on board some of my batch processing with his other items, and he is actually finding himself much more productive. So I think what you're saying there is a really good thing. It doesn't matter if it's what it is, whatever it is, batch it.
Yeah, 100%. And as long as you don't get into a situation where you burn yourself out on similar items, do try and mix it up so you're not.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Like sometimes I sit there and I might grab 20 pieces of clothing, and then I might have 10 pairs of shoes, and then like a pile of books and a pile of CDs or something. And then, it mixes it up, but it also keeps you batching still. Somebody said here, Donna, the problem is is people watch other established sellers and see that their thousands of items hoarding is the norm if you're a reseller. Sourcing is an excuse word a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a bit like you obviously said, which is interesting, that you haven't felt the need to source for 18 months because you've got so much stock already there. But there's a lot of resellers that have these massive rooms full of stock, yet continue to source weekly. So is that become like is that like a obsessive disorder? Like a, what's the word? Obsessive. Is it obsessive to keep buying stock while you have like a whole room of it, or?
Yeah, I think a lot of it leads into like almost like a gambler's high. It's trying to, oh, what will I find now? And I've really missed that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've almost treated it like quitting, well, not that I smoke, but like quitting smoking or quitting drinking, that sort of thing. That I've got to, I mean, I actually stopped watching a lot of UK resellers because it made me want to go out and buy stuff. It really did. And going through my own tat does sort of satisfy that as such. There are stuff that I found that I actually can't remember where I got it from. But it's not the same. It isn't the same. And I do worry when I go back to buying again that I'm just going to lose my mind and go, hog wild and buy stuff. But see, it's a tough one. I do see your point about seeing other sellers doing it. And I always cringe when people say, oh, and my shortfall is I need to go sourcing. And you don't. You just list absolutely everything you possibly can before you even need to think about sourcing, because I think that is the easiest part, really.
Yeah. So if you were like giving some advice to a new reseller, do you think you would really steer them against having like a massive death pile? Like, how big of a death pile do you think is like a good amount? Because obviously it's good to have, like, is it a week's worth or 2 weeks worth or a month's worth?
Yeah, maybe a month's worth is probably a reason. I mean, the thing is, it's really difficult to say, because obviously I know some people are really hurting at the moment because they've got nothing to list because they can't go out and buy stuff. But you can buy eBay job lots. There's always ways you can buy stuff, even with the current situation we've had. I mean, I have been blessed that because of my hoarding, it has come to my rescue during this time, that there's been stuff that has spiked in value because all the shops have closed. Certain gaming things have doubled in value, and I was in this mad, crazy rush. It was probably about 3-4 week period where it was all day, every day, just going through everything, loot and plunder, to try and find where this stuff was, because I'd have this really bad FOMO of like fear of missing out of stuff, because, oh my God, this stuff spiked in value. I've got loads of this. Where is it? And I think if I was more organized and I knew where it was, I could have proper capitalized on that. But I did capitalize on it as such, but so it did help me. But I don't know if the sheer amount of storage fees that I've for hoarding it paid off what I made anyway. So
because even with this current situation, like, that's a real rarity, isn't it? Like, what's happened isn't something that's happened ever really before. So, like, I understand it's been good for people who do have the death pile in this current situation, but it's not a normal situation. Like, a normal situation might be enough of a death pile that you might get sick and can't leave the house for a few weeks, or you might have, like, a woman might have a baby and might be, which you can pre-plan. Okay, I'm a baby. I might not get to the shops for 6 weeks afterwards or something. But like this kind of corona thing, that's quite the extreme. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on about like 3 or 4 weeks worth of stock, maybe, to keep you going. If what if one of your kids gets sick and you just can't, kind of like, you're at home with them, so you just can't get out to the thrift shop. But I think, like, when you have like a year's worth or 18 months worth, like, it's insane, isn't it? That it's just an insane level amount of money that's sitting there. That's I mean, I guess the thing is, like if it's sitting unlisted in the room, you're not getting your money back to be able to reinvest in other inventory that might be more modern, up to date, or going to move faster. And in turn, you're not making any profit. And at the same time, it's like emotionally overwhelming. So I don't know. Let me see if there's comments here.
It's one of those things. I like to think of it. It's almost like you've been injured and you've got a cut that's constantly bleeding, and you're not paying attention to it. So it's always in the background, ticking away. The storage fees, slowly depreciating the value of the items. And I'm sure it gets to a point where what you're storing is now worth the same as what you've paid in storage fees.
Yes. And because storage is expensive, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, especially like you said, you've got 4 storage units. Can you not get like a bigger one, or would it be just a pain to even move what's in there?
Yeah, the mistake I made was getting smaller ones. So I have now got a bigger one, but actually I probably could have, for the amount of rent I pay, I probably could have got like a really nice one that's indoors with like internet and that sort of thing. I've got to the point now where you get lots and lots of little ones and it totals up to an amount where you could get a decent one. But yes. I think the problem is that a lot of places there's the small storage units run by companies that are normally designed for people who are moving house and just need to store a few bits. Or you can get massive units where you've got to pay different rates and your water, electric, and all that. So there's very little middle ground between that suitable for resellers. So I think that's part of the problem.
So when you started, do you think that the reason why you get into that hoarding mode is, like, do you get worried that you're going to run out of things, or is it just that thrill of constantly buying, or were you buying like massive job lots? Or
no, I think what it was I was talking to Nick about this not long ago, that I remember when I started off buying and selling. There was 2 things: tools and stuff for making things, which were for me, and then I was buying gold and silver at the car boot sale. So I'd always gone to the car boot sales ever since I was young, really, and the antique fairs. And I remember going to a car boot. I remember this happened many times when I started. I'd go to a car boot sale or a flea market, and I'd come back and I'd like speak to my dad or whatnot. Oh, did you buy anything? Oh no, not today. I didn't buy anything. And just that seems so bizarre now. Now my eyes are open to stuff that sells, part and parcel because of this wonderful community. Like, I can't unsee stuff. So when I walk around and I'll see something that's worth money, I have to buy it, because if it's at the right price, I can't walk past it. And I think that's the problem, that I know that it's worth money, but I think that's the problem. I mean, recently it's been job lots, but back then it was just that I couldn't unsee the value.
So go with like a budget in mind and go, okay, I've only got $200 to spend this week. You were just like an opportunist. If it's there to make money, you're going to buy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, yeah, I obviously I'd have a bit of a budget. You know, I wouldn't be irresponsible about it, but I certainly would go up to the line about what is, appropriate. And I didn't think about the consequences. It's a bit like going to a supermarket hungry. When you're trying to get your shop, you buy way too much because you're hungry. Yeah. And I was hungry for the tap, and sort of slightly indoctrinated by a lot of the YouTube videos feeding into my head, saying, oh, I've got to buy stock. I've got to buy stock. Stock buying is my problem. And I think I was, I'm blaming others, but it was purely a problem.
But I do think that is a bit of an issue, don't you? Like with YouTube and that, it's really easy to see other people and think about doing the same thing, or compare yourself to other people, or think, oh, well, this person's doing it and they're making a killing, so I should do it like that. Or like, it's really hard to find your own, especially for a new reseller. I think it can be hard. I think it's hard for them. They're watching very experienced resellers who might even have more money behind them, or I don't know.
Yeah, not everyone can afford to buy big job lots or that sort of thing, and it is difficult not for that to get into. I mean, I've certainly gone into stuff like I've bought loads of like like Magic the Gathering cards or Lego and stuff like that from seeing people's videos, and then I get it and think, what on earth am I doing? Why have I bought all this stuff? And yeah, I've sold it eventually, but it does kind of slow you down. So I can see how people that are new to this getting tripped up by what you're saying. I kind of feel like this is a therapy session. It's quite cathartic, really. I've kind of forgotten that people are watching. I feel like I should be lying on a couch.
That's because I'm like when I get into a topic, I really struggle. Like I like to just be focused on talking to you rather than, it's not that I'm trying to ignore the chat. It's just that I like to really find out the information, I guess. And also my StreamYard's not working, so I can't highlight anything here. But I can just see that there's a super chat there from Second Chances. So reset your life at 40. So thank you so much. I can't highlight that, but I do really appreciate it. So thank you. And I can see there's new people in here. Hello to everyone. I know I've missed a lot, but I can see a question now. Tom, have you found anything that you have is no longer bringing the money in it was when you bought it?
Yeah, definitely. That's happened many times where the market's been ruined. I've talked to many people about this. I mean, like things like some board games like Trivial Pursuit was ruined by Nick Hills that I've bought loads of, and he publicised it, and it's now ruined forever. No, I'm only joking. But certain things recently, I found a load of exercise stuff for Zumba, which was a big thing a couple of years ago. And this I found before the lockdown, and I was like, it's not worth anything anymore. And I donated it. And then the ultimate irony, with everyone stuck inside, the price of Zumba stuff went back up. So, yeah, I've also had it where stuff that I bought and wasn't worth money, I put in storage and it's now worth money again. So I've had the opposite as well. So, yeah. It happens quite often.
So do you think when you've culled down your stock to like 1 unit or whatever you want to get it to, do you think you'll move more into I'm going to go to the car boot sale this week, 1 or 2 of them or whatever, and then I'm going to come home and I'm going to list that straight away before I go and buy new stuff? Or are you going to, is it going to be like a real itch for you to not do, to just keep buying again?
Well, I think I've been thinking about this a lot, and ultimately I think what would be healthy for me and what I'd like to do is if somehow I could have a system where I know that there's other resellers around me that say I've got this person here which is interested in this and this person here which is interested in this, and offer it to them before I even touch it. So because I think some people would benefit from knowing that I know I've got contacts who are guys that go to the car boot sales and buy all this stuff up, and I'm their video games guy that they keep stuff to one side for. And they, like, I've got a guy who does that. He buys tools for himself, but if he also sees electronic items that I'd be interested in, he contacts me and sells it off for a small profit to me.
Yeah.
So I think going forward, I'd probably like to dabble, I guess you call it wholesale, but
yes.
And then filter off a few items for me to list personally. And maybe do it that way, and then that'd help out other people, and also have a smaller amount for me to list.
Do you think by moving to more, like you said, your clothes and that are all kind of sitting there, and so you're mainly focusing on your books and your DVDs and your CDs?
Yeah.
Do you think by streamlining so that you're not selling absolutely everything helps to get into like a more of a rhythm with the business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this, like, obviously it's a good thing to sort of focus down on stuff, but also it's a bit dangerous because potentially, say, all of a sudden no one's buying, CDs, say, you're a bit stuffed, really, if that's your thing. So I do think there's an argument for diversity as well. But yeah, it definitely helps to focus and streamline your thing. I mean, I know some people who are really, I've got a friend and all he buys and sells is vinyl records that are sort of like DJ vinyl records. That's all he buys and sells. And I've seen people like that at the car boot sale that all they buy is porcelain dolls or that, and that's their thing. And That's great. And, you know, I mean, I think that's fantastic. I used to be like that. I used to just buy and sell gold and silver and coins and stuff. But then, yeah, I don't know. Also, those people tend to be collectors as well, and they keep stuff, and then it
Yeah,
gets
and I
murky.
guess that's when you start noticing there's money left on the table if you don't go and pick up the shoes, or you don't,
Yeah,
you know, like, yeah, it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to walk away from the money that you can walk past and you know it's there.
yeah,
So
definitely.
is there an amount, like, if like, would you walk, like, are you happy to sell something where you only make like a £5, I guess it is over there,
Yeah.
£5 profit? Or are you one of these people who's trying to get like a bigger profit off everything? Or are you more happy with bread and butter? Or
No, I mean, I'm not against lower profits as long as it's an easier list. Like when was it, 2018? I bought a lot of one of the discount shops we used to have was called Pound World, where everything was a pound, and they were bankrupt, and a lot of their stock was flooded in the market. And I bought a lot of media from them, and a lot of the other cheap shops, they have media which is used and they've resealed to be new, but this particular company would sell new media, and it was brand new, so a lot of it came onto the market, and I was buying lots and lots and lots of it, and it was small profit margins, but it was an easy list because I'd have 50 of a particular title, and I'd only have to do one listing. So
yeah,
I was fine with making like £1.50 on each item because it's one listing and I've got quantity 50. That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. I bought a lot of 60 of the same book recently. Like, they were all signed and everything, and they must have come from like a publishing promotion or something. And it's like I think in the last like 2 weeks I've already sold like 8 of them, and it's just all I have to do is sell similar, and it's
Yeah.
relisted. It's so easy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I actually do like that. I've got a particular Blu-ray that I've got over 600 of the same one,
yeah,
and it's just one listing, and it's beautiful. I sell a couple every week, and that's going
yeah.
to be ticking away for years and years and years.
So easy. I just saw there was a question here. Um, I'm sure it was from Lainey, and now I can't see it. Oh, in 5 years' time, where would you like your business to be?
Still going, hopefully. Yeah, that's the. It's a tough one. I think ultimately I'd like to try and it not just be me, because with all that's, I think this lockdown has really helped actually a lot of people and exposing their vulnerabilities, because I'd like it to potentially be more than me doing it, because if I got sick, then it just completely shuts down. Not that I did get sick, but I certainly found it that having to be customer service, postal worker, and listing slave all at the same time, whilst trying to provide for my family, get food, and be safe, was just a lot emotionally to keep changing hats all the time.
Yep.
I think that potentially by then I would like it to be that I'm in a more established sort of situation, whether that's like a larger unit, and have employees, either contract employees or actual ones that I employ to take the business to that next level. Because I think in the UK, the VAT threshold, which is where you sort of, after you earn over a certain amount, I think it's about 88,000 a year, that hinders and keeps a lot of people down. So I think if I was to get near that, I'd want to go big, a bit like Shazad, how he smashes through stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because really, like when I think about you, because I have like maybe 2,000 items between my stores, but you have 5,000. And like, it is a lot of work when you're managing it all on yourself, and you do wear all those hats. You've got to, I mean, you haven't even been sourcing, but you've got to source, you've got to list, you've got to photograph, you've got to answer, you've got to do your tax payments.
Yeah.
Like, there really is a lot to do, and it don't. I feel like you get to a certain point where you can't go much further on your own. And I know you've got a small baby. Is your wife at home with the baby?
No, she works. She works for the health service. He's in nursery 3 times a week. So I have him 2 days a week.
Yeah.
She has him 2 days a week. So
that's a big job to manage 5,000 things on multiple different platforms and look after a small child for 2 days a week. So like, hats off to you, because that's harder than what people think it is.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I could get to that level of having stuff listed was part and parcel because of Amazon FBA, because they deal with all the postage and all that has helped me scale things up. So that level of automation, I think, can help people do that. But yeah, I think I'm probably at maximum capacity of what one lazy person can do, really. So
well, you don't sound lazy to me, but what I do wonder is, do you have like a day off a week, or do you pretty much work? Yeah, I'm finding this a lot with like resellers lately. Like, people are feeling guilty for taking a day off work, or do you feel like you have to list every single day on eBay to get constant sales?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd certainly have to do things, whether that's tweaking prices or that sort of thing. Every day, I just feel I feel guilty for not working every day. But then having the little, and he's 16 months old now, so he's a bit better. But having to look after him 2 days a week has forced me into having time off from it, and I think that has been healthy. To have that time off and not feel guilty for it. It's definitely something a lot of people they get burnt out because they just live and breathe it all the time.
And do you sit up and work? I've noticed a lot of the UK people are quite night owls, and they sit up quite late. I mean, I was streaming this morning with Nick and Aid and Ian and a few others, Lainey, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and Nick was actually still going hard, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's doing something with a VHS player. He wasn't just sitting there chatting in the stream. He was physically cleaning out a DVD player, or he just didn't stop. And 4 o'clock in the morning to be doing that seems crazy to me, but
yeah, I'm the same as Nick, really. I mean, becoming a new dad has forced me into a more normal sort of routine because at first I was doing those late nights, but then getting woken up at 5, 6 in the morning, it kind of forced me into going to bed a little bit earlier. But given different circumstances, I'd be the same. Because I used to be the kind of person who'd go out drinking late at night, and the weekends I'd come home at 5 in the morning and that sort of thing. So I kind of rolled into the working late, because that was the only time I'd get chance to do stuff, because I'd be busy in the day doing post and
because your time does get caught up. Sometimes it can take you 2 hours just to do your packaging and your posting, and I know my day gets caught up just doing school runs, and it just interrupts the day so that you don't get that chunk of time so much. But
that's so important, that chunk of time.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, the chunk of time. But I'm just trying to see. I was trying to see if there's any questions, but I'm having even a harder time reading it off the pop-out chat than the StreamYard.
Okay.
But if there is a question, make sure you put question on it so I can see it, because otherwise I can't even pick between all the chit chat. Yeah, where am I? But
yeah, I think a lot of people have this problem saying about you living and breathing it, that I think a lot of people almost treat reselling as almost like a sort of pseudo cult or religion, that they seek out like-minded people who think that way, and they talk each other up. Like we were saying about watching other people's videos, that you can get a little bit obsessed about it if you're not careful.
Yep. And obsessed with YouTube. I think that's the thing. You get obsessed with watching YouTube and doing YouTube, and and that's another whole hat to wear, isn't it? Because I mean, you've got quite a big channel yourself. It's time consuming.
Yeah, I've neglected it. I really have, and I apologize to everyone all the time. Because I think I go through phases where I'm so focused on the business that I just don't have time for YouTube. It's dreadful. Or I think, well, I've not really got anything else to say. I've said it all. So yeah, it is a bit difficult. And actually, this morning I've edited 3 videos, so that they are going up soon. But I think the videos that I can do normally are just me grumbling about stuff. That's something I could endlessly talk about.
Yep. So what do you think the like in terms of eBay, because most people here will be eBay more than Amazon. Like, what do you think what's the hardest thing to juggle, do you think, with eBay?
I think for me, it's sort of constantly sort of repricing. I think both eBay and Amazon is keeping on top of your pricing, because when I started listening to Scavenger Life, which back I think was called eBay Scavengers, which is a podcast for people who don't know. And their strategy was list and forget it, which is you have a certain amount, you can try and build up your inventory to a size in which that something is always selling every day. And that's something I still subscribe to. That if you have a large enough inventory of niche items, that something's always going to be selling somewhere. But the problem is I always forget to reprice stuff. And I've looked at reprices, and they're not really suitable for the kind of things I sell. But to always keep tweaking, making sure things are all right, maybe retaking photos, doing promotions. I'm dreadful at doing that sort of thing. Yeah, that's sort of my main. I mean, I've got stuff listed that has been listed like 4 years. And I should really throw it away, but no, I stubbornly persevere trying to sell a jigsaw puzzle that I shouldn't have bought in the first place.
And so what about so I've got a friend who buys not job lots, but like almost like when people are moving house and they just get rid of their garage full of stuff, and then he would just buy the garage full of stuff for like £100 or whatever, $100. And he doesn't really know what he's getting. He just has to go there and pick up all the stuff, whatever. So some of the stuff just looks like rubbish to me. And I'm like, just cull it down. Like you've only paid $100 for it. So now cull it down to the stuff that's actually good and throw that other stuff away. But he's a bit like you. He's like, well, but I know there's money in that, but but it's big and bulky. I have to sell it because it's furniture or something. I have to put it on Facebook, and it's hard to sell on Facebook at the moment. But in the meantime, it's just taking up so much space that you can't even see what you've got. So for somebody like that, what would your advice be? Would your advice be cull it down and get rid of some of that stuff that you actually got in that job lot, or keep it all and just have like a massive wall-to-wall of it?
Yeah, I mean, my advice might not be the best because I'm not the best at doing that, but I'd certainly recommend getting rid of the big stuff first. I know in the storage unit I'm trying to get rid of, I've got furniture which I bought to sell on, and kind of not moved away, but just so I've got mid-century modern furniture which I need to sell. I've got like 5 wheelchairs in there that came from a grand's house after she passed, and walkers, and I just need to get it on Facebook, get it sold, because that's taking up so much real estate and space that I think if you focus on the big stuff, I focus on getting rid of the mediocre and dross. I know that for me, I've taken great pleasure in donating carloads of stuff to charity. I'd rather do that than throw it away. I very, very rarely throw some. I can't think of many occasions that I've physically just thrown something away, which is a bit rubbish, putting that burden on the charity. But I don't know if someone might want it. I've no idea. So I need to be more ruthless at physically throwing things away, though. That is.
But, so with that big stuff, if it didn't sell on Facebook after a few weeks, would you palm it off would you donate it maybe?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'd probably stubbornly persevere longer than I should. But yeah, definitely. But I mean, buying things like that. I mean, like I said at the start, that's how I kind of got into Amazon and books. Really, I hated selling books on eBay. I used to absolutely despise selling books on eBay. It was the most boring thing in the world. It was sort of to a kin of selling clothes and whatnot for me. But then, get this right, it's my wife's sister's husband's dad. So whatever tenuous family link that was, he was or is and was a hoarder, a really bad hoarder. Lovely bloke, really nice bloke, but his thing was hoarding books. He was obsessed with anything military, anything to do with military history and just history in general. And then that was sort of made worse by the passing of his wife, where it just exploded into buying lots and lots and lots of books, because there was no accountability as well. He was living on his own. And then in the most horrible irony, he lost his sight, so he wasn't actually able to read any of the books.
God.
But he still continued to buy them, and he had subscriptions for constantly arriving. And then because of his not completely losing of his sight, but sort of drastic reduction in sight, he had to go into sort of assisted care and like a home where he is to this day. And the family needed to sell the house, and they'd actually sold the house, and they got to buy much quicker than they thought. And the house was full of books. I'd never actually counted, but there's certainly more than 10,000 books. I've actually got a video on my channel from, I think, 6 years ago, where I did a walk around of this house, and I was contacted by his son to say, look, I need a hand here. Is there any way you can help? Because he'd contacted like house clearance companies, and they'd quoted him thousands and thousands of pounds just to clear it, that he'd have to pay them to just to physically clear it. And he said, well, is there any way you can sell any of this? Because at the time he was just dealing with the media buyers and physically trying to scan the books and send them. But he got a full-time job. He wasn't able to do that. So I dropped everything and worked out. I said, look, I will help you, but I did a deal where if I sold something, they'd get a kickback from it, because to go to help with this guy's, care. Because I only felt right doing that, and I still do that. But that was a lot of effort, because I'd got, I think it was 3 weeks to clear an entire house of thousands and thousands of books, and it broke. I cracked the back axle of my car. I was carrying that many, so I had to hire a van. I permanently ruined my back doing it. But it did start me off on doing Amazon. So, but the weird ultimate irony is that I've got an entire storage unit full of stuff from there to this day, which I've not touched, full of books, and I've been paying storage fees on this unit. So I've like taken on his hoarding. It's not good.
Yep. And that's, I mean, books would be so easy to hire a lister to do as well for you, much easier than clothes or something. So, maybe you just need to hire somebody just to do that whole storage container of books and just with it.
And it's such weird niche stuff. It's like who wants a book on German military headdresses from 1886 to 1885 written in Polish? It's like the most weird, obscure niche stuff that will eventually sell, but it won't sell quick.
No. And so that's what you wonder sometimes, if you're better to donate that stuff that's not going to sell quick, because I think with books, they can be long tail, because you can wait for the right buyer. But if it's taking up money in storage space, then that's a whole nother.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some of it I will liquidate to the media buyers if they do take it, and let them sit on it. Even if I'm getting a pittance for it, it's out of the way.
So Liz is saying here, question for Tom, do you run sales on those items that have been listed for ages? And can you set up a sale for items that have been listed over a certain time, and then a sale automatically comes on?
I don't know if you can do that, actually. I have no idea. Someone might be better equipped to answer that. I certainly do put promotion. I do promoted listings on things, and I have put sales on in the past on some stuff that's older, or just tweak the price, or I'll really just lowball the price on stuff just to try and get it gone.
Do you send offers like regularly?
Yeah, as often as I can. That's my door going. Sorry, you'll have to bear with me. That's my door going. It's a post. Sorry.
No, you're right. Go for it. I'll try and look at this chat because I know that I've missed the chat. Lainey's got a question here about, do you think it's an issue to not clock out from reselling? Like, would you like you would for a 9-to-5 job, burning yourself out and becoming overwhelming? I don't know, Lainey. See, I've actually never had a 9-to-5 job. So even when I worked at McDonald's for 10 years before I had babies, I was a manager for 7 of those years. And although we did shift work, we often stayed working late, and I just never really had that. Like, I was either mornings or nights, and we'd work longer shifts. So if it was busy, we'd have to stay back, and I don't know. And then I've been working for myself ever since for the last 20 years nearly. So I've never really had that 9-to-5 job, and I've always had jobs that have made it so that I'm used to working like at night and at weird times and just working around my life. But I was talking to Bron about this last night and saying, you're right.
Sorry about that. It's eBay packaging turning up.
Free money? Did you get it for free?
Yeah, it was with my packaging voucher, yeah. So
yeah, we don't get that here.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Everyone else does but us. No, I was just saying, Lainey's just saying, like, do you think it's an issue not to kind of clock out from reselling? Like, would you, like you would for a 9-to-5 job? And I was just saying that I've kind of worked for myself for the last 20 years, and I've never really had a 9-to-5 job. I've always worked around the family and different things. But I was just talking to Bron about this last night, about how we almost feel like it's difficult to just sit like watching the television. Like Bron and I was saying, like our husbands can kind of come home from work and then sit there and watch Netflix, but we kind of feel like, well, if we're sitting there watching TV, we get a bit antsy, like we could or something. So then you come in and you don't really just, I don't know, I don't really just sit and relax on the couch anymore and just tune out while I'm at home. Like, I'd rather be, it feels like a waste of my time to be sitting watching a reality show when I could come in here and list 10 things and make some money.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I've got a pile of DVDs. My to watch pile is obscene, and I haven't truly watched television for probably a year, really. I've got so many things recorded on the Sky to watch, and I just don't get time. I just think, oh, it's a waste. But then I sit here watching somebody sort something on YouTube, or doing a what sold video kind of thing. But yeah, I totally get that it's, even if not, I'm sat on my phone looking, tweaking prices. The only time I truly actually switch off and do thing is I play on computer games, and that's the only time really I switch off. And that's sort of like, I think, mental reset. I think if I didn't do that, then I think we've all got those sort of things where it's like a mental reset, whether it's some people knitting or reading a book, or I think that is very important though.
What does your wife think about it?
Just sort of the business, or
what does she think about the hoard? Like, is she a bit of a hoarder as well? Like, you'd have to.
No, she's the total opposite, like complete opposite. Like OCD, very tidy, very neat. So how on earth she lives with me? Obviously, when it is an issue. It's a constant battle of, why is this still here? And she understands it. She's exceptionally understanding. But yeah, and she has helped me, sorting out my inventory system and that sort of thing, and working out logical ways of sorting things, and that makes things easier to find. But yeah, she understands some of the process, but it's kind of like leaves me to get on with it. Just yeah, she's become very. But I'm physically. The other reason why I've had to move things off site is obviously having him a little, and because I can't risk a pile of books falling on him or something like that.
Yeah.
So it has forced my hand in a good way to say, no, home's got to be home. It's got to be a safe and stable, neutral environment where I can be away from things. I've got an office. I've got there's a little box room in the house. I can close the door, and that's kind of my space, which is a total pigsty. But everywhere else has got to be more neutral. The only time it's not is like now when I'm listing stuff on the table.
Yeah.
That's the only time it's not.
It sounds like even though you are, what they say, self-confessed or whatever as a hoarder, it also sounds like you've got that balance where you've got your boundaries, where you understand the boundaries and you know where you've gone over what you should have. And you're very mindful of it and you're very aware of it.
I'm trying to be, but yeah, obviously when you get a haul of stuff and you're like what I would call giddy kipper and all pumped up about stuff, it's hard not to just get it everywhere and then it's a problem. It's always going to be a problem. I don't think I'm ever going to be any different. I'd be a fool to think that all of a sudden I'm going to be a neat or an organized person.
Yep. And probably your wife is keeping you more organized. Like you said, if she wasn't there, you'd have it up to the walls.
I'd be like an unshaven, dribbling mess, rolling around in piles of media, and probably still loving life. But I certainly wouldn't be a healthy, productive person. So yeah, I've got a lot to be thankful for, and certainly the community's helped me. And I think this sort of YouTube accountability is definitely something that helps a lot of people. So I mean, newbies, I'd if I was starting off, I'd certainly start off a channel to give myself some sense of accountability and also to share, because you can be in an echo chamber of thinking what you're doing is the right thing. You just sometimes need that person to say, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. Yep.
Yeah, you have to be open to that constructive criticism, don't you?
100%.
Yep. Rightio. Well, here's one more question. Would you ever return to doing furniture, Tom?
Well, and in terms of, I'm not sure what you mean in that sense. I mean, making furniture probably to sell, probably not. Maybe restoring furniture. I would love to do that. I would absolutely love. I mean, I've still got a workshop. I still have all my old setup. It's still there. I use it every now and then to fix things. I pay rent for that every week. I share a communal space with several other people I went to uni with. So I love that. I would never let that go, because I can pop down. I've got a friend who makes glass things. I've got a mate who makes guitars. It's great to pop down there and have a chat with them, catch up with them, see what they're doing. I would never let that go, but I think if I was to do it, I'd probably do it for my own self as the hobby as such, and maybe do it on eBay. But it's a lot of graft and a lot of lifting for, when the same value I could have just in my hand here to a giant piece of furniture. I don't know, and you need the space for that, maybe. But I think if I was going to do it, I'd probably concentrate on smaller things.
Yep.
I don't know.
There you go. Righto. Well, we've gone over an hour, and I'm conscious of your time. I know you got a little baby, and it's the middle of your day there. So,
if you can book me in next month for another therapy session, that'd be fantastic. This is great. I think we should
want a therapy session.
We should start it as a regular thing. Reseller therapy with Mel. Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
That's so funny.
There you go.
But thank you. Thanks everyone who's in the chat. I'm sorry I couldn't put anything up. I don't know why there's no chat showing in StreamYard, but there's not. But
it's probably my fault. I plague people with technical glitches, so don't worry about it.
No, normally it's me. Every time I go on with Zahir, I seem to have microphone problems or audio or something. But we've done all right tonight. I think we've done all right. But thank you. So on the couch with Mill, Peter said, no, Ian. Okay. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. thanks again to Tom. I've got Tom's details in the description below, but I'm pretty sure I saw Ian and a couple of the others linking your channel before, but maybe somebody could quickly pop it in one more time into the chat. And if you're not subscribed to Tom, then go over and subscribe and see what he's got going on with his big death piles.
Yeah, but, there will be videos of the shame soon. So
there you go. If you want to see the shame, go and sub. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks very much for that. We'll end it here. Thank you.